Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. And I know right away that some of you are thinking, Klaus, how is it possible that you have short hair now? Yesterday's video you had long hair, and the video the day before you had short hair. And tomorrow you may have long hair again. How is that possible? When did you get your hair cut? Some of you may be thinking that. Some of you may be thinking, how is it possible, Klaus, that we're watching this video right now? There may be one person on Earth that's watching this video and you have short hair, but at the same time, somewhere else on Earth, someone could be watching another one of your videos in which you have long hair. Those two people could be watching you simultaneously and your hair is a different length. Now, I know not all of you are thinking that. Some of you came here just to watch an amazing tank game, and we're going to watch two amazing games in my favorite tank, the Leopard. But some of you may be pondering that, and I don't begrudge you that you may be pondering that, because humans have pondered this for thousands of years. Some big thinkers tried to rationalize and think of this problem even hundreds of years ago. But what could they know, right? Even 100 years ago, they didn't have the internet, they didn't have calculators, computers. We can figure this stuff out now, right? We just go on Facebook, watch a TikTok video, and it's all plain and easy to understand. There was a guy that actually wrote a paper in 1905 about pondering this stuff. I'm going to read you. Indulge me, okay? I'm going to read you because it's fascinating. I'm going to read you. It's funny how they thought and how they contemplated things 100 years ago when they didn't have any of the instruments we have now. They had to kind of like think about stuff. So listen to this. 1905 this was written, okay guys? I'll just read you the first couple of paragraphs where the guy just postulates this thing. All right? He says, let us take a system of coordinates in which the equations of Newtonian mechanics hold good. In order to render our position more precise, to distinguish this system of coordinates verbally from others which will be introduced hereafter, we will call it the stationary system. If a material point is at rest relative to this system of coordinates, its position can be defined relatively thereto by employment of rigid standards of measurements and the methods of Euclidean geometry, and can be expressed in Cartesian coordinates. Isn't this beautiful, guys? Just indulge me just a little bit more. If we wish to describe the motion of a material point, we give the values of its coordinates as functions of time. Now we must bear carefully in mind that a mathematical description of this kind has no physical meaning unless we are quite clear as to what we understand by time. We have to take into account that all our judgments in which time plays a part are always judgments of simultaneous events. If, for instance, I say, that train arrives here at 7 o'clock, I mean something like this. The pointing of the small hand of my watch to the number 7 and the arrival of the train are simultaneous events. Isn't it beautiful? Just the way they just indulge me. I just get so excited about this stuff, guys. It's just amazing. It might appear possible to overcome all the difficulties attending the definition of time by substituting the position of the small hand of my watch for the word time. And in fact, such a definition is satisfactory when we are concerned with defining a time exclusively for the place where the watch is located. But it is no longer satisfactory when we have to connect in-time series of events occurring at different places, or what comes to the same thing, to evaluate the times of events occurring at places remote from the watch. We might, of course, content ourselves with the time values determined by an observer stationed together with the watch at the origin of the coordinates and coordinating the corresponding positions of the hands of the watch with light signals given out by every event to be timed and reaching him through empty space. But this coordination has the disadvantage that it is not independent of the standpoint of the observer with the watch or the clock as we know from experience. Just one more sentence, okay, guys? Are you still watching? How many viewers have we lost? Let's just one more little bit. We arrive at a much more practical determination along the following line of thought. If at point A of space there is a clock, an observer at A can determine the time values of events in the immediate proximity of A by finding the positions of the hand of the watch which are simultaneous with these events. If there is a point B of space, another clock in all aspects resembling to the one at A, it is possible for an observer at B to determine the time value of events in the immediate neighborhood of B. But it is not possible without further assumptions to compare in respect of time an event at A with an event at B. We have so far defined only A time and B time. We have not defined a common time for A and B, for the latter cannot be defined at all unless we establish by definition that the time required by light to travel between A and B equals the time required for light to travel between B and A. Okay, I'm done now. I'm done. Have you indulged me? That was written in 1905 in a paper called On the Electrodynamics of Moving Bodies. We're watching a German tank. That was written by a German. His name was Albert Einstein. And he started with a thought experiment. Guys, he started with a thought experiment. I read word for word from his paper. That's not a YouTube video. That's not a TikTok video. That's not a Netflix special. That is reading from his paper. That's the first page of his paper. He postulated this and wrote this paper, thought about it more for another 10 years, and then came out with his general theory of relativity, in which he described the thought experiment that he was contemplating in his head with mathematics, contemplated and worked that mathematics until he determined that time is not a constant, it's a variable, and time does not progress at the same rate in the presence of mass or velocity. And he also concluded through mathematics, accidentally, the equation, which he wrote like this: m equals E divided by C squared. Do you not see the significance of this? He used his brain to contemplate a conundrum, which he then described with mathematics, and he worked that mathematics for over a decade to solve the complexities of the universe and come up with assertions, for example, that time does not progress at a given rate and is affected by the presence of mass or at the speed at which the reference frame is traveling. And some of you might be thinking, well, this is just a theory. All these so-called experts just come up with theories, and eventually they're disproven. But no. It's proven. And any of you that actually owns one of these relies on Einstein's equations. In fact, the GPS system, the satellite system that encircles the Earth, the thousands of satellites that we've put up there, that we use on Google Maps, on our phones, only work because the time of the information they provide is corrected using Einstein's equations, because time is progressing at a different rate on the satellites than it is on Earth, because the satellites are in a position in space-time where the force of gravity is lower. They're farther away from the Earth. Gravity, the force of gravity is different where they are. So time is progressing at a different rate. And left uncorrected, if we just, the information that we got, GPS information that we would get from those satellites left uncorrected, over time would desynchronize from our time. We actually use them. We use the equations, or these things wouldn't work. Isn't that just mind-boggling? They've also done experiments, for example, using something in nature like particles that decay. There's a certain particle, I don't even know what it is, because I just described that the rate of time in the satellites is progressing at a different rate than on Earth because of the force of gravity difference. But also speed affects time, right? And they've got these, there's these little particles that take something like 6 minutes to decay naturally. On Earth, in our reference frame, we can take one of these particles and we can watch it, and after 6 minutes, it dies. It's gone, right? And so some clever scientists have done this experiment. Well, what if we take those particles and speed them up so that they're going almost the speed of light? Because we can't speed up a human to go that fast and see if he ages differently, because he'll die. We can't make a human go that fast, but we can accelerate particles. That's why they have those big round particle accelerators. And they take these particles that die normally in 6 minutes, and they put them in the accelerator, and they speed them up to like a large fraction of the speed of light, and they observe how long it takes them to die. And they don't die in 6 minutes. They die it takes them longer to die in our time. And how long does it? Much longer does it take them? Exactly the amount that's predicted in Einstein's equations. It's not a theory. It's true. The other thing he came up with, which is just mind-boggling, as accidentally through his working of the mathematics, he came up with the equation, the one we all know, but he wrote it differently. He wrote it m equals E over c squared, c being the speed of light, a constant. M equals E divided by a constant. Mass and energy are basically the same thing. They're related. They're equal to each other with a little constant in there. Think about that. That's why if you have two stopwatches, in the old 1900s when they had stopwatches, they didn't have digital, stopwatches with chips and stuff. They had springs. You have to wind them up, right? Clocks, you have to wind up the clock. And the wind-up clocks, they were mechanical. So if you do the experiment, you have two identical clocks, identical in each way, and they're both sitting there, and you wind one up. And one of them's wound up and it's telling the time, whereas the other one is not. You haven't wound the other one, and you put them there side by side, identical in every way except one of them is wound up. Which one weighs more? Which one? They weigh the same. You said they're identical in every way. No, the one that's wound up has more potential energy. It weighs more. Not very much more, because C is a big number, and mass equals energy. The energy's gone up a little bit, but C is so big, C squared is huge, so it doesn't weigh a lot more. We don't have a scale that can measure that accurately. But we have things we observe in the universe that have tremendous amounts of energy. And we can look at the mass and the energy, and that it is true, it's correct. It's mind-boggling. 1905. In 1905, a smart German scientist, probably the smartest man the smartest human that ever lived, answered the question, Klaus, how can we be watching this video? You have short hair, Yesterday you had long hair. Someone else is watching one of your videos where you have long hair and you have short hair. We're watching them at the same time. He's at reference point A in Europe. I'm at reference point B in North America. How is this possible? Well, Einstein figured it out. It is possible and it's happening. You're witnessing it right in front of you. The answer is, it's relative. Amazing. I just love this stuff, guys. I just love this stuff. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How did that game end? On precisely the moment that it was over. Ace Warrior from the Hyper Clan. How did that game end? At precisely the moment when it was over? It's all relative. It's all relative. If you were watching in Europe, did the game end at the exact same time as someone watching in North America? Guys, I'm in the middle of reading Einstein's special theory of relativity. That's what we call it. He called his paper on the electrodynamics of moving bodies, which he wrote in 1905, which, by the way, he did not win the Nobel Prize in Physics for. He did not. No one knew what the hell he was talking about. And he didn't win. But, rather than watch a TikTok video, rather than read something on Facebook or Twitter, or rather than watch a stupid video on World of Tanks, why not do some thoughtful reading for yourselves? Oh, wait a minute. I'm the guy that makes the YouTube videos. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave some comments. Are you interested in some of this stuff? This stuff is just fascinating. It blows my mind. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.